I make one mean potato salad, but I don't like having to chop up the vegetables. With the veggie slicer, it does it all for me. Potatoes.
This video is sponsored by PUBG Mobile. For those of you who don't know what PUBG Mobile is, it's an official mobile version of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The game is available for Android and iOS devices, and it's a free-to-play, battle royale style game. In the game, 100 actual players parachute onto a massive 8x8 kilometer island where they compete in a winner-takes-all showdown. You're able to play with up to 4 players in squad matches, and there are a variety of models available, including a super fast 8-minute arcade mode if you're in a hurry. Join the over 100 million players currently playing PUBG Mobile. You won't regret it, particularly because it's completely free to play. The download link is in the description below. Now let's move on to the main part of our video. In the 1950s, Matsutatsu Oyama founded Kyokushin Karate and then later devised the most grueling exercise in all martial arts, the 100-man kumite. Facing 100 opponents, a participant is expected to win over 50% of the 100 1.5 to 2 minute fights, and if knocked down, to stay down for no longer than 5 seconds. Proving his money was where his mouth was, Matsutatsu not only created the kumite, but then went on and defeated it 3 times over 3 consecutive days. On today's episode of the Infographics Show, we ask, could you defeat 100 people in a 1-on-100 deathmatch? Since Matsutatsu's creation of the kumite, less than a dozen participants have successfully completed the entirety of the grueling event, and none have matched Matsutatsu's incredible 3 completions in 3 days. With participants wearing no more protection than a groin guard and a mouthpiece, the kumite is an incredibly grueling ordeal of mental and physical strength, combining full contact karate with the physical demands of a marathon. Participants earn great respect just for reaching round 50 and are not typically expected to actually complete it. But maybe karate isn't your thing. What other ways could you defeat 100 opponents in a 1-on-100 matchup? In ancient Rome, gladiator battles were often fought between 2 combatants, but sometimes emperors would call for the recreation of famous battles, pitting hundreds of slaves and prisoners against each other. If you found yourself in such a contest, you might be equipped with nothing more than a short dagger called a pugio, or a gladius, the staple of gladiator combat. If you are especially unfortunate, you might even be sent in unarmed to be slaughtered for the pleasure of the crowd by Roman military units, as was the fate of many prisoners of war after a brutal campaign. How well could you do armed with just a pugio or a gladius? Probably not well against 100 opponents. Given the short range of both weapons, it would be a simple matter to be flanked and overwhelmed. You're going to need something better than a sword. It's time to kick it up a notch. First invented by the Chinese, it would be the Europeans who would bring the true potential of gunpowder to the average soldier. Yet even after the development of the matchlock and its evolution to the 16th century musket, the weapons remained slow to fire and lacked accuracy. Early musketeers were often armed with muskets and a saber or cutlass for close quarters combat. Able to penetrate 2 millimeters of steel armor, muskets turned the balance of power in Europe from the mighty armor-clad knight to the lowly footman. Yet the musket required a long and complicated loading and firing process, and only the most crack and elite troops could manage anything more than a 4 rounds a minute firing rate. Even starting at a distance, you're only going to get a max of 4 shots off before your horde of 100 attackers descend on you, leaving you with only your saber or cutlass for defense and firmly putting you back at square one. It's time to crank the firepower up. The first cannons appeared in China during the 12th century. As an evolution of the fire lance, a pole arm with a gunpowder-filled tube at one end, the first cannons were not much more than iron tubes, which were then filled with iron scraps or porcelain shards. Eventually, solid cannonballs were adopted and proved devastating, killing and maiming opponents as the ball sped across a battlefield. Even after striking the ground, if the cannonball managed not to lodge itself into the earth, it could roll across a battlefield with tremendous kinetic energy, taking down men at shin level. The bombard came about shortly after. Featuring a very large barrel, these heavy cannons were used as siege weapons to smash enemy walls and fired 573-pound granite balls a distance of half a mile. Terrifyingly powerful, a cannon still likely won't do you much good against 100 people with its long reload time and small projectile size. A bombard, on the other hand, may be even slower firing, but with its 3-foot diameter, 573-pound round, you might only get off a single shot and need a few friends to help you load and fire it, but you're going to put a serious dent in a horde of 100 attackers. But we don't want to put dents in our attackers' numbers, we want to decimate them. Enter the M2 Browning 50 caliber machine gun. As the ultimate evolution of the heavy firearm, the M2, or Ma Deuce, as it is affectionately known in the American Armed Forces, has been in service since 1930 and has barely changed in almost 90 years. Originally meant to be equipped on vehicles and aircraft, the M2 was quickly assigned to American infantry for heavy fire support. The M2 features a 50 caliber projectile that's half an inch in diameter and almost half a foot in length. With a muzzle velocity of 2,910 feet per second, each 5.45-inch long round carries so much kinetic energy that it creates a miniature vacuum effect as it travels and can kill or even wound by simply passing near enough a target. With a firing rate of 450 to 600 rounds a minute and a projectile powerful enough to penetrate moderately armored vehicles, the Ma Deuce is your ultimate solution to a 1-on-100 fight to the death. Each round easily piercing through several attackers and still having enough kinetic energy to eliminate anyone having second thoughts and trying to hide behind anything less than 6 inches of solid concrete. If you want to see how you would do in a mobile version of a 1 vs 100 battle royale game, then try PUBG Mobile. The link is available in the description. So, what would be your choice weapon in a 1-on-100 deathmatch? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video called Worst Punishments in the History of Mankind. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time!